Welcome to Stuck in My Mind podcast, the show where we dive into the mind of a regular guy on his road to self-discovery. You'll hear everyday people just like you share the latest topics, personal stories, and things they've learned along the way. And now, please welcome your host, WIZE.
And welcome to another episode. I am your host, WIZE. I have a very special guest. She's an entrepreneur, author, speaker, breast cancer survivor, and the lover of black licorice. Welcome to the show, Kim Sorrelle. Hey, Kim, how you doing?
I am doing great. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
The pleasure's all mine. All right, so let's see where we're going to start at today. All right, so you're an entrepreneur, and I love having entrepreneurs on the show. That's what my show's about, is inspiring people to, because I don't knock anyone who has a job, but entrepreneurship to me is the way for people to really live their life, to take their life to where they want to live, because having to punch in 9 to 5, it can be draining.
Yeah, I grew up with an entrepreneurial family, and so it came pretty natural to me. But I agree. I mean, although one thing I've learned is that it's not for everybody. You know, some people, the steady paycheck, the 8 to 5 kind of thing is perfect for them, right? They want to know what they're able to do in a day, what they need to get done in a day. As an entrepreneur, when I go to bed at night, I never, ever have said, oh, I'm done. I got all my work done, right? I mean, there's always more to do.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. With me, when I started podcasting, I decided to launch a production company. We're still growing and developing. We're still getting clients. We have a few clients here and there, but it's a process, and it takes time. You can't just expect once you start your own business that it's going to take off. No, you got to give it years to build it up and nurture it like a baby.
Exactly. And it does take time and patience and a lot of work, hours and hours of work, and sacrifice. It takes a lot to make it all happen, for sure.
You're absolutely right. You're actually going to work more than you would a 9 to 5. You're definitely going to put in more than 40 hours a week into your business. But in the long haul, to me, I feel it's worth it, because you get to pay you get the spoils from your hard work.
True. That's true. I mean, and really then you name how much you're going to make in life, right? It's not determined by somebody else. It's determined by you and what you put into it, how much work you do, and how you spend the money that comes into the business and all of those things. So that's kind of a bonus to being an entrepreneur, is sort of name your own pay is a good thing.
Yeah, you set your own worth. You don't have anyone setting your value for you. You know what you're worth. If they don't want to pay it, then they don't pay it. You just don't provide that service to them, because you know what you're worth, and you don't have to limit yourself to what what someone thinks is your worth.
Right. Exactly true. That's exactly true. It's crazy when you think about it, that anybody wants to do that. Anybody wants to do what we do, because it's like I don't know. It's a lot. My dad got married. My mom passed away in 1990, and my dad remarried like a year and a half later. And we tried to do Christmas together. We were all adults, but in our early 20s. And she had 4 kids, and we had 3 in my family, and we did Christmas together. And then a couple days later, my dad called, and he said, yeah, we're not going to be doing that again. And I'm like, what are you talking about? We're not going to be doing that again. I thought it was a great time. And he said, we're a little too much for them. We're a little too intense, because when we get together, we talk about business. We all had our own businesses. We all had stuff going and stuff together and stuff separate. And we would talk about that. And they all worked jobs that were 9 to 5. And at the end of the day, they were done for the day. And so apparently, if you're like you and I, we can be intense to others.
Yeah, some people aren't comfortable stepping out the box and being uncomfortable, basically.
Right, right. So true.
So tell us a little something about your book. Well, I'm sure. How many books do you actually? How many books do you have? How many
Two.
big books? Two. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So my first book is Crying Until You Laugh. And I can start by telling you a little story, something that happened to me that kind of tells you sort of an intro to what happened.
Okay.
So a few years ago, I was floundering, and I felt like if nervous breakdowns were still a thing, like back in the day, women could have a nervous breakdown, right? But that kind of went away when women stopped wearing pearls to vacuum. And so I wasn't allowed the pleasure, I guess, of having a nervous breakdown in Hawaii or somewhere. So I thought, well, gosh, maybe I ought to talk to somebody. And so I got a recommendation, called and left a message, got a message back. She was full, gave me another name, so-and-so Bennett. And I called and left a message on that phone. And then a couple hours later, I got a call back. And she said, Kim, this is Denise Bennett. Why do you want to see me? I was like, wow, nothing like cut to the chase. I'd never been in counseling, but I didn't know that's how it started. And I said, well, I was diagnosed with breast cancer a few years ago. And she said, oh gosh, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? And I said, yeah, I'm fine. But 4 months after that, my husband was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And she went, oh, geez. And I said, yeah, I know. It was a lot to handle. And then he died 6 weeks later. And she said, I'm so sorry. I said, yeah, he was a great guy. And I miss him like crazy. I'd love to have him back, but I don't get to pick that. And she said, well, I hope you're doing okay. I said, yeah, I am. But then I just lost my dad. And she said, oh, wow, you've been through a lot. And I said, yeah. But then on top of that, I was dating somebody who really just messed with my mind. Like, I think he's a sociopath, like a textbook one. And I want to make sure that I am not attracting sociopaths, that I'm going to end up on a Lifetime movie or something at some point. And she said, yeah, that's true. I said, yes. So that's why I thought I should see somebody. She said, I agree. I think you should see somebody. But I'm a little confused. I'm your son's landscaper. I went, oh, well, my son was building a house at the time. And he was overwhelmed. And I said, well, let me take something off your plate. So he gave his landscaper, Denise Bennett, not Counselor Bennett, my phone number. And so I could help out with the landscaping. And so it was an interesting moment. And I just said, oh, gosh, I'm so sorry. And she said, oh, no, don't worry about it. I'll never tell a soul. And I said, you can tell whoever you like, because I'm going to be telling this story, because I thought it was pretty funny. And she showed me love, like incredible love, right? Like she wanted to protect me, love that protects, and I thought, wow, she doesn't even know me. And she's trying to protect me. It was really sweet.
Wow, it's crazy because I have something similar. I have a similar story. I was widowed at the age of 31. My wife passed away in a car accident, and 1 year later, like my wife passed away May 1st, 2008. I went to I was in Florida. I was a hot mess. I ended up going to Puerto Rico for my mother's 70th birthday party in May 2009. But I had already decided I was going to move away from Florida because it was just too much for me. Because I'm from New York City, but we moved to Tampa, Florida, because that's where she was originally from, and so it just was so rough for me to be in Tampa. Once I left Tampa to go to Puerto Rico for my mom's 70th, I never returned. And so I moved back to Brooklyn with my brother. And as soon as I got back, I get a message on Facebook from my sister from my father's side that I hadn't seen my father in over 25 years. And I knew my sister's name, and I remember my sister and my brother from when we were children. And excuse me. And she's like, I'm looking for my brother. He has your same name. I wanted to know if it's you. And I'm like, yes, it's me. How you doing and everything? Oh, so she gave me her number. She gave me my little brother's number, who I had never met. And she gave me my father's number. So so we speak, and I talk to my father over the video conferencing and all that. And so she decides she's like, I want to send you a ticket. You're gonna be a Father's Day present for Dad and my brothers, because I was their Father's Day present for all three of them. And I said, fine, that's fine. I'll go back. I was just in Puerto Rico not that long ago, but I'll go back. And she's like, oh, great. So I get there Friday of that Father's Day weekend. And so she keeps me in the living room. She goes into the bedroom and she goes, Dad, do you want your Father's Day gift? I have it there. She's like, yeah, you can bring it to me. And I walk into the room and his eyes light up. And he's like amazed, because he had already seen me. We had already spoken through camera, and we hugged and embraced and all that. And I had already let go of a lot of that anger, but being able to tell him I forgive him and we can just move on, and it was like a weight was lifted off of both of our shoulders. So that night, me and my little brother go out with him and his wife, and we go shoot pool and go eat and everything. And we end up going back to my sister's apartment about 3:00 in the morning. So about 7 or 8, 9 o'clock around there, she's calling us, look, hurry up, we have to get to the house. My dad isn't breathing. And when we get there, he had passed away in his sleep.
Wow.
So it went from 1 year from losing my wife to me reconnecting with my dad and losing him that Father's Day weekend. It was devastating. It was like, that really sent me out of like spiraling. I had already been spiraling from losing my wife, so that just kind of set me off even more. And it was just a string of, no lie, probably like 5 or 6 years where I lost someone dear. I lost a aunt that I was very close to. Within a span of a few months after that, her sons passed away, and then probably a few years after that, I lose my brother. I lose my uncle first in a freak accident where he falls down the stairs, and then I lose my other brother to hepatitis C. Yeah, he got very ill, and then I lose my brother from my father's side that I reconnected with to a drug overdose. So it was probably like a 5-year span where I lost like 6, 7 people very close to me. And I was angry. I was pissed at the world. And then one day I just sat down and I'm like, I can't continue to be angry. I have to let this go. I have to speak to someone. So I saw therapy. I got help, and being able to express myself. Now it's easier for me to talk about it. But it was real hard. I internalized a lot of things, so people wouldn't see that I was hurting because I always put a brave front. But it was really difficult because I self-medicated with alcohol and just was really self-destructive. And it wasn't like I was like hurting anyone else. It was just me hurting myself. And when I realized that I needed to seek help, I went and saw it and got the help that I needed. And now I'm blessed now to find love again and start my podcast and be able to try to help people and share my story. Maybe someone might listen and hear it and be like, wow, that's something similar to me. If he can overcome this, what can I do?
Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry for losing your wife, I mean, losing your spouse, the love of your life, that's a tough one. Congratulations on finding love again. But then reconnecting with your dad and your brother and losing them and losing so many people, that's tough. Like, it sure wore me out, and I didn't lose nearly as many people as you did, but I was just worn out, like just at the end, like, what more can I take? Like, what else is there? And it made me question love. It made me question life. It made me question so many things, but love was a big thing that made me question, like, do I really know what love is? You can't go to the bookstore and buy a manual on love, right? There's no Love for Dummies. No. So where do you learn it? You learn it from your folks, you learn it from people around you. And a lot of what we call love really isn't love. There are things done in the name of love that are destructive and horrible things done in the name of love. And then there's some love that is for real, but what is it really? So I decided I was going to figure it out. And so I took this 2,000-year-old poem that you hear at a lot of weddings: love is patient, love is kind, does not envy, etc. And I decided I would dedicate a year to figure out what the real meaning of love is. Take one word a month. There were 14 words. It took me a little bit longer than a year, but take one word a month and figure out, what is love that is patient? What is love that is kind? And it's interesting, because when you were talking about forgiving and that you'd already come to that on your own, but to be able to say it to him, how powerful that was, right? What a powerful moment that was. And that's love, really. I mean, when you go around with just bitterness and anger, you're only hurting yourself. The other person doesn't even know what's happening. But how do you not be angry at your dad that you hadn't seen in 25 years? That he hadn't called or sent you a Christmas card or something, right? So it reminds me of, there's one part of the passage that says that love does not keep record of wrongs. And when I was doing that month, it was an interesting thing. So most of the time that I was doing my research, I was in Haiti. So I start each chapter with what I think it means. We all know what patience means, but then what story happens, what actually happens that brings me to the revelation of what it really means. So love keeps no record of wrongs. So I was contacted by these men from the States, mostly pastors, who wanted to go over to Haiti to see this water project I was working on, to see if they wanted to be a part of it, and asked if I would go along. So I go, when we go to this remote area in Haiti, and I brought along 2 Haitian friends who were also men, to translate and help, that were already helping with the project. And so we get there, and it's behind the cement wall, this little tiny building with 2 rooms, and each room has 4 twin-size beds. There was some room. Like, I thought, we brought a couple cots and an air mattress. We'd be able to fit more beds in the rooms. So, but there were 4 in each room. So 8 American men, 2 Haitian men, me. So the head of the American men pulled me over. Kim, can I talk to you? I'm like, sure. And he said, did you see the rooms? I'm thinking, buddy, there's nothing else to see. Like, this is a little place. So yeah, I saw the rooms. And then I thought, oh, he's asking me because he's going to think that I want my own room. And I'll just say, oh, it's okay, I'll sleep outside. And then he'll say, no, if anybody should sleep inside, it should be you. And then I'll say, oh, well, I don't mind if there's other people in the room. And he'll say, good, because there's only so much room and so many beds. So I said to him, well, it's okay, I'll sleep outside. And he said, good. Oh, good. What a relief. He said, there are men in this group that would not be comfortable with a woman in their room. And I'm thinking, what am I going to do in hot Haiti at 2:00 in the morning? Like, what is the fear? We weren't sharing a bed. I wear pajamas. I'm not sleeping naked. Like, I didn't really get it, but I offered. So now I had to do it. So I looked around to figure out where I was going to sleep, and I saw this piece of plywood and these 2 sort of Haitian sawhorses. And I thought, well, at least if it rains, I'll be under a piece of plywood, right? So my biggest fear was that something was going to bite me, attack
Onto the
me,
bed, yeah.
right? And you're from Puerto Rico. I mean, so there's in Haiti isn't so far away. There's tarantulas, there's snakes, there are
There's lizards, there's everything. Some
yes,
big cockroaches.
no kidding, no kidding. I didn't want any of it, right? None of it. And so I went to bed the first night and blew up the air mattress. The air mattress held air for about an hour. And it was so loud because dogs are barking and horns are honking. And it was so loud, finally died down. And then like 2:00 in the morning, voodoo drums started. And they started in the distance. And then that kept me awake for a while. And then finally, 4 a.m. or so, things got quiet and I was able to sleep for a couple hours. So first night came and went and nothing crawled on me, nothing landed on me, nothing touched me in the night. That was perfect. So the second night, I'm hoping to have a night like the first. But again, my air mattress held air for an hour, so I'm on the gravel. And again, the horns and the dogs, and again, the voodoo drums. And then again, finally, I'm asleep. And I slept on my back thinking that would be the best way. Like if I had to get up and run from anything, I could quick stand up and run. And so the second night I'm laying there and I'm sleeping, I woke up because there was something on my leg. And I thought, oh no, what if something bites me? Is there even the anti-venom in this country? Like, what am I going to do? They're going to airlift me to Miami. What's going to happen? And so I slowly lifted my head and slowly opened my eyes to see. And it was a chicken. A dang chicken on my leg. And I didn't know whether to be mad at the chicken for waking me up from my little sleep that I got or being happy that it wasn't something.
Yeah, nothing serious.
Yeah. So the second night or the third night was like the first. Nothing happened. The fourth night came. And again, the loud, the drums, the whatever, I'm finally sleeping. So the early morning, right? And again, I woke up because there was something on my leg. And I thought, oh my gosh, what is it? I mean, tarantulas here can get so big and I don't like them. I mean, whatever. And so I, again, just slowly opened my eyes. And again, it was the dang chicken. It was that chicken again. I didn't know whether to be mad or happy. I didn't even know. But we did have chicken for dinner that night. So the fifth night, I was just fine. There was nothing that landed on me. But I was kind of bitter. Like I was angry. Like they're all sleeping. They're going in at 10 o'clock at night and sleeping until 6 in the morning. I'm getting barely any sleep. And I'm outside and I'm thinking, boy, I hope my sons wouldn't treat a woman like this. And I'm all about equality, but I'm also all about being a woman.
Come on, you would at least thought one of them would have been a gentleman. Like, no. Listen, whoever feels uncomfortable sharing a room with her, go share one room over there. And whoever isn't can stay over here. That's it.
I know, you would think so, right? Yeah. And my Haitian friends, that actually kind of made me more angry, was they didn't even draw straws to see who got to sleep inside. And there was room for their cots that could have gone in the room, but they weren't going to let me be outside alone. And there was an overhang that they were on cots underneath. And so, but I thought, guy, why do you think just because you're American guys that you automatically get the rooms, you automatically get the beds, like what about these guys? But anyway, so, I had a couple things that were going through my mind that I wasn't so happy about. And here I'm working on Love Doesn't Keep Record of Wrongs and trying to work through that in my mind. And what I realized is I'm never going to forget that time. I'm never going to forget that story, right? We don't forget what happens to us. Like you talked about forgive and forget, right? And so I'm never going to forget it, but the mood of the story has changed for me. It's no longer, oh my gosh, these men, look what they did to me. Now it's just this funny story that happened to me. I could literally sleep anywhere in the world and be just fine, be comfortable and fine. And so, that I think is what not keeping a record of wrongs is. No bitterness, because it only hurts you. No anger, it only hurts you, right? But love doesn't do that. Love isn't bitter. Love just changes the narrative and puts it in a different light.
Yeah, no, I understand. I fully understand, because when I grew up, every summer, and this is during the 80s, my mom would send me to Puerto Rico, and it was crazy, because at that time where we lived at was in my mom's house is in the mountains, her family's house is in the mountains, and there was no indoor plumbing. Like there was no bathroom. There was no bathroom. They had indoor plumbing, but they had no bathroom. It was an outhouse and then another shack next to it with a hose going through, and that's where you would take it. You take a shower or take whatever it was. And so it made me appreciate more when I would come back to the States and realize, like, listen, I got it good over here. Like, I have hot water, I have indoor plumbing, I don't have big bugs and stuff.
Right.
So,
you can take your glass and put it right under the tap and drink that water. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was crazy, because my uncle also, at that time, he butchered his own. He had pigs, goats, he had chickens running around. It was country life, basically. And like I said, it just made me appreciate it more when I would come home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel the same way. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, that there are so many people in the world that's their life. Where I have stayed and where I was staying then, another sort of part of the story was the shower, or where you got cleaned. There was a wall that was maybe 4.5 feet tall, like an L-shaped wall, and behind it was a 55-gallon drum of water. And you'd take a 5-gallon bucket, fill your 5-gallon bucket, and then wash, with that. That was your shower. And so the first night after I decided where I was going to sleep outside, he pulled me over again. And he said, oh, hey, did you see the shower? And again, I mean, there's not much to see there, right? And I said, yep, I saw it. He said, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to be the last one to shower, because it would be horrible if you walked in on anybody. And I look around, and all these guys are well over 4.5 feet. Like, if I turned the corner and I would see that they were showering, like, I wouldn't go back there. Like, I wouldn't walk in on them, but they saw it every night. I just waited for permission to go and take my shower. But yes, but I totally agree with you. I take shorter showers. I think because of the time that I spend in Haiti, Dominican Republic, wherever. And that I realize I don't need to take a 20-minute hot shower and use all that water, because I can do it in a bucket if I really want to.
No, you really get to, like I said, I really, it made me realize that I had it good at home. I had it good in the state. When you go to, like, because I go to the Dominican Republic with my wife, she's Dominican, and to see how some of these people live, we drove behind this truck in the Dominican Republic, and it was the back of the truck had, no lie, maybe 25 people on the back of the cab of this truck. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? But that's how they travel, and that's how it is. That's how it is. And there's sometimes we will lose power. There's no water, like how if I go outside, there's a line from the water coming into my house. No, there they have a big 50-gallon thing, whatever it is, that they have to come once it starts emptying out. The water company has to come and fill it up for you again. So they don't have free-flowing water like we do, where it's coming into my house and with a meter and all that. No, they have to order their water, fill up the gallons or whatever. So again, it just shows me that, wow, like, people have it a lot worse than I do. yes, I have some issues, I have some problems, but you sit down and you reflect and you go, I'm not that bad. It's not that bad for me. Yeah, I've suffered and I've lost, but there's people living life that don't have anything.
Right, including medical care, education, some of the things that we just take for granted that
Yep.
a lot of the world does not have. And it does, it gives you a different appreciation for sure. And I have a son from the Dominican Republic, actually. And so we have projects there, and schools and water projects, and we work with healthcare and community projects. And but the poorest areas in the Dominican Republic are where the Haitians live, the Haitian barrios.
Yep.
And so you go from what you were talking about, you go one step down even further, right?
Because they're considered second class citizens over there. They're not even treated like people. They really aren't. I've seen how they treated the Haitians. I've seen the news over. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. And you would think, like, wow, what are people doing to correct this? It's hard. It's difficult. It's especially you being from the States and then going over there. You're thinking like, what? How can we stop this? How can we? Because a lot of people, there've been a lot of violence against Haitians over there, and it's again. And I have a lot of friends that are Haitians here in the States that I grew up with, that I'm real close with. So to go see that, it hurt my soul. It was like, it's crazy just to see how can you be so cruel? How can people be so cruel to each other?
And
why can't we just love each other? Yeah, why can't we just love each other for the way we are? Why do we have to hate each other? Why? And it's for me, I know why I'm the way I am, because I was raised by a mother who opened her home to everyone. It wasn't it didn't matter if you was black, white, it didn't matter. If you were a friend of the family, our house was open to you. And that's how I was raised. I wasn't raised to see the color of anyone's skin or see what kind of religion. It was just people. And to this day I have friends of all nationalities, all races, and I just treat them the same way. I treat them the way I want to be treated.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was raised in a home like that too, where color was just beauty. It was just beautiful that we're not all the same tone, right? Like there's beauty in the differences, but there's equality in the people, right? We all walk on the same ground. So the minute people start elevating themselves above anybody, like one of the lines from that poem is "Love doesn't boast." When you're boasting, it's not like, oh gosh, you want to see my grandkids' latest art piece, or whatever. It's boasting that makes you better than, like, your opinion is the only opinion that matters. You know everything and they know nothing, right? You're better than. And in the Dominican Republic, there is this attitude, certainly not with everybody, but it's pretty prevalent, where there is a prejudice against Haitians. And it's been years and years and years that there's this prejudice against Haitians. Even my son, it's been something that he dealt with. I brought him over to Haiti to work on a project, and he totally changed his attitude about Haitians after coming and seeing that people are people all over the world. We have different things that we do, different cultural things, whatever, but people are people all over the world. And if I were a Haitian mama and I knew that on the other side of the border, it could be a better life for my kids, I would do anything I could. And you already talked about how poor it is even on the other side of the border. Or I'd get on a boat and risk my life and come to the United States to give my kids a chance, because it is a tough life of strictly survival in Haiti.
And then even with with that, to me is, say a boat of Cubans come and they land on land in the United States. They're given asylum because they're considered political refugees. But let a boat of Haitians land in Florida, anywhere, they're deported. They're grabbed and they're deported. And they're not given asylum, and that's what's wrong. That, to me, is wrong. It's like, how do you give one group asylum, but then you have, just because why? Because it's Haitians and they're poor and they don't. And that just, it just blows my mind, and it really hurts to see that, because they should be afforded the same rights as Cubans. Because listen, they just had, what, last year they had their president killed in his home.
Right.
That should show us. That should show us that country is kind of dangerous, really dangerous. If their president is getting killed in his own home.
Right. Yeah, it is. I mean,
and then and to be suffered with all the traffic, the earthquakes, the hurricanes. There's a lot that needs to be done there. For sure.
I mean, it is a lot, and it's overwhelming. And so then I think too that that, you know, we put labels on people, you know, right? And we say, well, the Haitians, and yeah, they're Haitian. I mean, that, but they're also Patrick and Junior, right? They have names. They're people, like we're people. And just because they live in poverty does not mean that they're lazy. And I think a lot of people have that misconception.
No, Haitians, some of the Haitians I know are some of the hardest working people.
Absolutely.
Ever that I've ever seen.
Exactly.
I've honestly, I've never met a Haitian that's lazy. Every Haitian I know usually has 1 or 2 jobs, 3 jobs. They work, like I work. There's a group of Haitians that work at my job now, and we're short staffed. So I work in a casino, and I work table games. So we're short staffed that they're asking people who work table games to work security, to work front desk. And my friends that are Haitians are putting in the hours. They work. Some of them are working 70 hours a week.
Yeah, right. You know, yeah. And that's the thing. Like Haitians that I know too are very hardworking. It's not a lack of motivation. It's a lack of opportunity. You know, there are not jobs available. There's money in poverty. You know, there's reasons that people keep people down, unfortunately. And when you have very few in the country that make most of the money and everybody else lives on nothing, it's a tough life. I mean, it's hard, but it's a lack of opportunity. It's not lack of intelligence. It's not lack of motivation. It's not lack of work ethic. That's not what brings poverty. You know, that they don't want to live that way. Who wants to live that way? I mean, you know, I think part of it is, you know what you know, but at the same time, you know, if you're hungry, right? You know, if you're drinking water that makes you sick. Yeah. You know, if your kid doesn't have the opportunity to go to school because you can't afford the shoes. I mean, you know those things. And it is a tough way to live.
It is, and it's just for it. Like I said, for me, it was life altering experiences for me to see that, and it just made me appreciate my life more. Made me appreciate life in period more, because I guess I went through my grief and went through my issues and everything. But at the end of the day, I would like, there's people out there that have it way worse than I have it. There's people that don't have a roof over their head, don't know where the next meal are gonna come from. I've suffered loss, but my wife kind of prepared me for that. She set me on my path of self-discovery and self-development and learning prior to her death. She introduced me into the world of Tony Robbins, Abraham Hicks, all these other inspirational inspirational authors, and it just she was just preparing me for what was to come.
That's pretty amazing, really, when you think about it. What a gift, right?
Yeah.
What a gift. Yeah. She sounds like a wonderful woman.
She was loved by a lot of people. But again, I'm blessed now to remarry, and my wife is amazing. She's very supportive of what I do. She sees in me the greatness. She's like, you can be great. You can do whatever she says, whatever you set your mind to, you can do. I've seen you do this. So when I started my podcast, it could have been easy. She could have easily been like, dude, you're 40 something years old. You're going to do what? You're going to start what?
Right.
But she saw that I was serious about it. Like, I would come home from work prior to me podcasting and everything. I would come home to work, sit my butt on the couch and play PlayStation. Once I started podcasting, I completely abandoned it. I left it, it's collecting dust. And she goes, you know why I support you doing this? She says, because I know you're serious about this. I know. And she says, I know you're pretty good at it. She says, but the fact that your PlayStation is being neglected over there, she said, I can't tell you not to do this now, because I see that you're dedicated to this, that you're serious. And so she helped me form my business. She helped me do a lot of things. And since then, I've launched the internet radio station. Again, I have a couple of clients that I work with, and it's slowly but surely growing. And the networking that I'm doing within these past couple of years, it's been amazing. And just to see the growth, it's been great. But just being able to have someone support what I'm doing and believe in what I'm doing, I couldn't ask for anyone else. I couldn't ask for more.
Right. She loves you. I mean, that's love, right? That's love, to see your passions and support your passions. That is love. And it's interesting, like the first word that I worked on was patience, right? And I think your wife has love that is patient. Because I thought I knew what it was. I thought I knew what patient love was, because I know what patience is. You're not honking your horn if you're stuck in traffic, right? Or she's not ready to go, you're ready to go. You're not tapping your foot and getting angry, right? That's patience. But I figured out that you put love is or love isn't in front of any word, and it completely changes the meaning of the word. And I learned that love that is patient listens. Love that is patient recognizes that this moment right here, right now, is the most important moment of your life. That what's in the past is in the past, and what's in the future is yet to come. And for me, I've had to practice this, of just really being in the moment and listening to the words that are said, because I love everybody. I believe you're supposed to love everybody. And so if you love the person you're with, you listen to their heart, you listen to the words, without jumping ahead and going, oh gosh, I got to stop at the way home and pick up milk, or I've got this meeting later, I got to get done, and only half listen, or even have in your head what you think they're going to say and be working up how you're going to respond, instead of really listening to the words. I think that's a lot of the problem in our country in particular, with vaxxers and anti-vaxxers and Republicans and Democrats. And, why can't they all get along? Why can't you have Thanksgiving together? Well, we don't listen to each other, but love does. Love that is patient stops, listens, recognizes that you need to be fully present, fully here. And it sounds like that is exactly your wife. Like, she saw your passion because she heard you talk about it, and then stopped and listened to what you were wanting. And And she loves you, brother. She loves you. That's a good thing.
Oh no, I am blessed. I am blessed with beautiful wife who accepts me for who I am and what I plan on doing. I have a great team behind me in my production company. My nephew and my friend Brandy. We work hard. We actually released 3 books this year. The beginning of this year. My nephew released his book, The Plush Life from Prison to Peace.
Wow.
I released a little book on inspirational quotes and stuff that I enjoy. And then Brandy released her book of poetry. These are things that we didn't set out to do. These things that just happened along the way. These are things that kind of just morphed into what is just it's just crazy. Because if you would have asked me 2 years ago when I started, would I be an author? I'm like, what? I don't like writing. I'm not a writer. I'm not a big writer. But doing my podcast, I always say it opened these creative juices inside of me. And instead of me always being, oh, I can't do this, it made me start going, hey, I can do this. Why can't I'm been editing my podcast since day one, and I'm not an engineer. I Googled it, and I learned the process. I've been video editing these. I just started my podcast. It was just audio. It wasn't until September of last year that I made it into video. And that's because I had a guest on. I had 2 guests on, a husband and wife team, and they're Brandon strategists and all that. They're like, you don't do video? I'm like, no. I said eventually I'm going to transition to video, but right now I'm just audio. They're like, you don't do video? And I'm like, no. They're like, you don't do video? I said, record. I do video now. And they said, see, that's what's great about you. That's great. You're coachable. You're willing to learn. You're willing to step out of your comfort zone and do something. So yeah, we commend you for that. Good thing. And since then, I've been recording video for my podcast as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. But yeah, not just willing to learn, but willing to realize that you can take advice, right? And you can accept what people have to offer you. And I think when you're open, it makes people around you more open, which also is a good thing, right? You're able to really love each other more when you're a little vulnerable and say, I don't know how to do it. It's okay to say, I don't know how to do it. It's better than making up something, well, this is how you do it when you don't really know. So it's great to be open like that. I think that's a wonderful way to be, a wonderful way to live.
And that's why I guess my podcast has been picking up more listeners and followers and building up traction, because I'm just myself. I don't try to be something I'm not. And it comes out on it shows on my show, that it shows on the podcast that I try to be my authentic self. I'm not perfect, and I don't know it all. I'm still learning every day. I'm still growing. And I acknowledge that I'm flawed. And I guess people who kind of understand that it resonates with them because they're tuning in, they're listening. My YouTube channel is growing. It's just me being myself. I'm not trying to be something I'm not, because people pick up on that. People can sense when you're being fake, when you're not really truly being yourself.
That's so true. That's so true. And you're fabulous. And what you said is so true. Like, you shine through. It's just who you are, and you can tell that this is who you are. And I like who you are. You're pretty amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's just to me, it was crazy because when I made up every excuse not to do the podcast. Who's going to want to listen to me? I sound horrible. Nobody was. I suck. Why would? And when people who started, like friends of mine would listen to the podcast, they'd be like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, you have a radio voice. You have that Barry White tone. And I'm like, okay. But to yourself, you just don't sound good. But people continuously kept saying, like, listen, what are you talking about? Like, you have a voice. You have the voice that's meant for radio. Whatever it is you're doing, keep doing it. And that just like kind of to have people, and everybody can't be wrong. Like everybody who tells me this can't be wrong. So it kind of like it made me feel more comfortable with myself to be able to hear people that I respect and know tell me that, hey, you're pretty good. You're not that bad. You can just keep doing. And again, I feel that I improve with every episode. So my goal is for the next episode for me to be better than I was the previous episode. So I'm better this episode compared to my last episode. And that's just me. That's just me wanting to continue to grow and know that maybe, all right, what can I do? What did I do wrong last episode that I can kind of not make sure I don't do it again? And it's just the process.
Yeah, well, and even why you started it, to give a voice to people. Like I like what you have to say about that everybody has an interesting story, right? Everybody has their own story. And then to give a platform to tell the story, because we can all learn from each other. And you've got great friends that are affirming you, that are lifting you up. And when you feel empowered in one thing, then you can feel empowered in the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing, right? And continue to grow and continue to just spread those wings. That's pretty amazing. That's amazing. It does take a lot of guts, what you're doing.
Oh yeah, I definitely stepped out of my zone. I definitely stepped out of my comfort. Even with doing the live video, I've definitely stepped out of the box. Just it was me just tired of being complacent. It was just me not being satisfied at where I'm at. Like, but that's just, again, that's the entrepreneur in me. That's me knowing that, listen, there's more to this than just whatever it is. I need to go seek it and build it and continue to go. Like when my first couple episodes, it was me more ranting about politics and the George Floyd situation and racism and all that. And I loved podcasting, but I didn't love the subject matter. It wasn't until I switched and I started interviewing people, because at first a lot of people would be like, oh, how many listeners do you have? How many followers do you have? Oh, you only have that many? I'm like, I just started out. Oh, well, no, thank you. I'm not interested. But then I made some connections. I linked up with a few people that sent people my way, and it started gaining traction. I started getting people, hey, I heard your episode. I would love to be on your show. And then again, I also started doing Matchmaker FM and other sites to link me with guests. And I would definitely go reach out to guests and everything. But then I would also have people reach out to me, be like, yo, I just heard this episode on your podcast. And they'll go into detail, like, oh, I love this part, and be like, I would like to be a guest on your show. And it was crazy, because it was just the flip of it was just me, just the flip of the mindset of, I don't want to focus on negative stuff. I want positive content. I want people to come and be able to listen to a story, and hopefully that inspires them to want to do something for their life. And when I did that, I started getting some amazing guests. I started, like yourself, I started attracting these guests to me, and that's just me, the energy that I'm putting out. And I feel, and then that's how I feel, is like whatever I put out is what I'm going to get back.
Yeah, I think that's true of everybody in life, right? But I also think there are times in life that you put out and don't get anything back. And the trick there, I think, is to continue to put out, right? Like, don't shun somebody because you had these expectations on them that you were going to get something in return, because that's not loving. That's not how we should be to each other as humans. Like, I think our behavior should be our behavior. Nobody else is responsible for our behavior. They say people they made me mad. Well, you decided to get mad over that.
Yeah, sometimes we put expectations of people that they don't even know that we put these expectations in them. And when they don't live up to the expectation, we get angry.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah. When I was first married, I was young and I was horrible at being married. Like, I just was defiant for whatever reason. And one night I made my husband's favorite dinner. This is in our first year of marriage, and I was 18 years old. And so one night I made my husband's favorite dinner, lasagna, and I baked this cake from scratch, and I put candles on the table, and I just thought he'd come home and go, oh gosh, the place looks great. And I, put on some makeup and did my hair, whatever, put on something a little sexy, and thought he's going to say, you look great. And then talk about the food and everything's great. And he walked in the door and he's like, hey. I'm like, well, hey. And, how was your day? Whatever. It was like nothing, like there wasn't anything special going on. And so then we sat down to eat, and he's eating and I'm stewing. Like, the longer the meal goes on, the angrier I'm getting that he's not saying anything. He didn't say, you look good. He didn't say, man, this is my favorite meal. Thank you for making my favorite meal. He didn't say anything. And so by the time dessert came around, my blood pressure was up and I was hot. And I said, and so I just let it out, right? And I just said, I can't believe you haven't said a word. Like, I've worked so hard and I set this whole thing up, and it's your food and it's your everything. And I did this for you, and you haven't said anything. You've not said thank you. You've not said anything to me. And he said, wait a minute. He said, I can't read your mind. He said, you're not mad at really what I did. You're upset because of your own expectations. But if I don't know what your expectations are, how can I possibly live up to them? And at first, that really pissed me off, quite frankly. Like, that made me mad. Like, don't try to be the smart guy in the room. Like, I don't want to accept that right now. And so I walked away and I was angry, still angry. And then I started thinking, yeah, my expectations right. Like, he should know. And then I went, yeah, my expectations, he's right. He is right. And I learned from that there's not a reason to put expectations on people. Receive what you receive, but always give. But if you don't get anything in return, you don't get anything in return. And people can't read your mind. So don't expect something without somebody knowing what you expect.
That's how I am. Like, if a friend needs me and they need something, like, okay, for example, sometime last year, a friend of mine reached out to me and borrowed some money, and I gave it to him. Because to me, money is not everything. And so recently, he reached out to me again. He's like, "Yo, I know I didn't pay you back the last time, but I need I need money because I'm going to. His father had passed away a few months ago, and they had just finished paying for his cremation and everything. And they were going down to lay his ashes, whatever. And I sent it without any thought about it. But I let him know. I said, listen, I'm not worried about the money. It's not about the money. It's just that the fact that you're saying you're going to pay me back and then just ignore me. And it's not like I sent the message to say, no, I want my money. I brushed it off. I was like, I'm not worried about that. It's just the fact that now you're ignoring me, not saying anything to me. And I'm like, you know what? I learned from it. I'm not upset over it. I'm like, I just chalk it up. Listen, it's money. It's nothing. I make money sleeping. But let it be known that you can. sometimes it's just frustrating. Sometimes when people try to take advantage of you being kind.
Right. I think when you're kind, you're going to get taken advantage of in life. I mean, you do, and it's going to happen, right? There's going to be times when you're taken advantage of. My dad taught me growing up that whenever he loaned money, it was never a loan, it was a gift. And so then he had no expectation of getting it back, right?
Yeah. And that's kind of like how I look at it. I don't look at it as I lent them the money. He needed it. I had it. I gave it to him. It wasn't that fact. It was just the fact that now you're ignoring me. It's just the fact now, like, I was good enough for you to reach out to me, but now when you see that I'm doing stuff here, you're not even sending me a message like, "Oh man, I see you have a podcast or you have this," and
Yeah.
it's like, so it's kind of, but you know what? Again, I'm not upset over it. I just,
Well, you know, it's one of the principles of love, actually. The second one, love is kind. And going into that, I thought I knew what kind was, right? Like you do kind things. Everybody's kind. You show kindness. But what I figured out is that love that is kind is zero expectation love. Like you do without hope for anything in return. Not a thank you, not a reciprocal casserole, not a, I went to his kid's wedding. Why didn't, he come to my kid's wedding? None of that. Just zero expectations. You do because you love. You do because you love. And when you can release that, man, that's freedom, right? I mean, how freeing is that to not be holding on to something? And then you're giving with totally the right motivation. You're giving out of love with no expectations of anything in return. Because if the minute you start expecting something in return, the kindness part of it kind of goes away. Because then it's like, well, what's in it for me? Even if it's just a thank you, no matter what it is. But if instead you just love and just show kindness and don't expect anything, it's just freeing. It's just freedom to live that way.
yeah. And like I said, I wasn't upset over the fact that he didn't pay me, because money comes and goes. It really does. That's something I don't. That's something I don't really like. To me, yeah, I know we need money to survive and pay our bills, but it comes and goes. I've had money. I've been broke. I'm not gonna let that affect that. I'm not gonna let that change who I am.
Right.
I'm going to continue to be the same person I was with or without money.
Yeah, well, I can tell you that before I did the month of love is kind, and figured out what kind love really is, man, I'd get upset. Like, I would loan money. I wouldn't have a problem loaning money. But I would always say it's a gift. You're not going to pay me back, because I needed to release it. Because if I loan money and then the next thing I know, they're going to Vegas, it's like, well, wait a minute, you couldn't pay me back, but you can go to Vegas, right? But I would think like that, or think, gosh, I did this for them and I haven't gotten anything in return, like you were talking about your friend, just reach out, just be a friend. If I'm your friend, like I would think exactly the same way, like, and it's so understandable. Of course, that's sort of our natural way to think, or what we've seen demonstrated to us too, yeah. Right? But then after living the month and then working on love that is kind, I just don't know a better way to live. Because then instead of you thinking, geez, buddy, why don't you reach out for something other than money? You're like, yeah, so I love this guy. And we connected, we were friends, even though we don't see each other all the time or whatever it is. And he needs some money. I've got it. It's for a good reason, whatever. And then you're able to just let it go instead of that, that sort of fight within. Right. Because man, I was really good at that. I was really good at that fight within, let me tell you, because it's hard. I mean, when you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But oh man, this has been amazing. We've gone over the hour mark.
Okay.
But this has been a great conversation, and that's why I love doing my podcast, because you never know where the conversation is going to go, and it's been amazing. That's why, again, this is why I love doing this, being able to connect with people that I probably wouldn't most likely connect with, and I love it. But now it's part of the show where you just plug away, let them know where they can find you, your website, everything. Even though I'll have it in the descriptions and the thing, but
yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. And let me tell you, it's been a great conversation. And even if I didn't have the opportunity to say what I'm about to say, I hope we stay connected, because you're incredible. I want to meet your wife. I want to go out for coffee or something, like you're fabulous. But yes, I did write the book. Love is the name of the book. And I did take a year to figure out love, more than a year. And I just really believe that what I figured out is so much more than what I thought it was, and that it would help anybody. Like, it could change anybody's life. It changed my life. It could change anybody's life. And it's not a unicorns and rainbows kind of a love book. It is the stories from Haiti or wherever I happen to be. I was chased by a motorcycle gang. I slept outside. I told you that story, whatever. I got lost on a mile-high mountain. Like, crazy things happen. And that's what's in the book. So I think it's a fun read, but I also think it's good. Like, I think I want to spread the word. Like, if we all knew how to love, the whole world would be a different place. So, yeah. So thank you for that. And Kim Sorrelle is my name. Loveis.info takes you to my website, which is kimsorrelle.com. But loveis.info is a little bit easier. You can buy my book at Barnes & Noble. You can buy it at other bookstores, brick and mortar bookstores that I love. You can buy it on Amazon. So I'm easy to find. I'm the only Kim Sorrelle spelled my way in the whole wide world, because there's so many letters, Sorrelle. And this has been absolutely fabulous. You're amazing. You've changed my life. Like, this has really touched my life. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you being on, and I'm actually gonna after we get off, I'll probably go on Amazon and order the book, because I always support. I support. That's me. How do you expect anyone to support you if you don't support? So I'm gonna go. I'll get a book and I'll read it and reach out and let you know.
Yeah. I look forward to hearing what you have to say. I want to get your book too. And your wife.
Oh, mine's is an ebook. Mine's is just an ebook. Yeah, it's an ebook. It's just an ebook on quotes and stuff like that. But my nephew's book is ebook and paperback and everything. So that one is which is it's a good book. It's a real good. He dedicated it to his son. He speaks about his life going from prison to when he came out and he started seeking his peace, which he's still doing. And when he reached out to me and was like, yo, I really have this book, I really want to get it out, but I don't have the money to invest in a editor or anyone to help me with the book. And again, I had the funds, and we worked it out, we put it together, and it's not, and I don't want the money. It felt good to be able to help someone's vision come to life. Just that aspect of it makes me feel good, that I'm able to help him with his dreams and get his book. He had already published the book. So, but this book was something he really wanted to get out, and he wanted to do it the right way. And he supported me in my stuff. He when I said, hey, I want to do a podcast, he had already been doing YouTube, and he was like, okay, you can do it. I'm doing YouTube, so why can't you do a podcast? And we started researching and everything. When I told him, hey, I want to launch an internet radio station for people who want a platform where they don't get censored, where they don't have to conform to whatever Facebook or YouTube or whatever any of these other platforms tell them to do. And he was like, okay, so let's do it. So we built the radio station. And then he was like, yo, you can start taking content from your podcast and put it into a book. And I had been already doing inspirational quotes, videos, inspirational quotes that I was posting on Facebook and YouTube. And we just decided to just start making a book with some of those quotes that I really enjoyed and really meant something to me. And now I'm working on my second book, which is, I said it's titled Just Press Record. And it's basically just showing people how to start a podcast.
Oh, nice. Giving back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really great. That's awesome.
But again, thank you so much, Kim, for being on the show. This has been great. We're definitely going to keep in touch. I'm actually going to probably release this next week on my YouTube channel, and then probably next month on my audio podcast. But I'll send you the links and everything once I get them, and you can do whatever you want with them.
Yes. Well, I'm going to share you with the world because people need to know you're here.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. But don't leave just yet. It is time for shout outs, and we'll talk a little bit off screen. All right. Big shout out to my Real WIZE family, Poppy J, Brandy J. Love you guys. Big shout out to the boss lady, Fina. Love you, baby, and appreciate you. And as always, a big shout out to all the essential workers out there. God bless you. Be safe. You know how your boy WIZE does it. Peace out.
Thanks for listening. Listen on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, and TuneIn. Find us on social media on Twitter at WIZE_B_blunt, Instagram at WIZE_B_blunt, and a Facebook fan page, www.facebook.com/WIZE76. Check back soon for new episodes. Until next time, peace out.